you think that there is like a timeline? Like if you're not, if physically or if you're not mentally or emotionally or spiritually attracted to this person by this time, it needs to be talked about or ended.
What's up, you guys, and welcome to Adulting with Joyce Pring, the how-tos of your 20s told by a 20-something-year-old traversing through adult life expectantly and with gusto. Don't forget to check out joycepring.com for the show notes and use the hashtag Adulting with Joyce Pring for all your comments, suggestions, and hopefully non-violent reactions.
It was a conversation I was having with some of my friends where it was, have we settled in? Like, have we come to terms with it already? Because I think that the first month of the ECQ, it was really like resistance from us to accept that this is the way that things are going to be. And now we have really settled in. We have accepted that this is the new norm, and that we're going to be stuck in the house for a very, very long time. So the one thing that I did over the weekend to try and help me accept that was I found a brand new cartoon. Okay, I know you're not big on cartoons.
No, but I saw your post, and I was like, I'm almost convinced to watch it.
Oh my God. When I saw it, I was like, this is going to be the first cartoon that I can get Joyce Pring to watch.
Oh my, really? So what's the title, what's it about, and why should we watch it?
Okay, so the title of the cartoon is The Midnight Gospel. Okay? It is based off of recordings of a podcast by this guy named Duncan something. It slips my mind his last name. But the topics of conversation are some of the most enlightening, thought-provoking conversations that I have ever been able to listen to. They put SOS to shame. It was like, SOS is like garbage.
That's a low bar, though. We're a low bar.
I mean, to be honest, we have not set the bar very high. But when I was watching it, the topics of conversation that they were having were from the parallelisms of Buddhism, Hinduism, and Christianity to taking hallucinogens all the way to accepting death. And it was, some of the points there were incredibly thought-provoking. And the best part is it is packaged in the weirdest looking cartoon setting that you will ever see. If you've ever seen Adventure Time, which I loved,
okay,
it is pretty much the same kind of color schemes, very bright, very vibrant colors. But the topic of conversation is so real. It's so human that I honestly think that only two people really came to mind that when I saw it, I was like, okay, these two people are absolutely going to love it. One of them is my best friend, Ange, and the other one is my other best friend, Joyce, where it is like, oh my God, mind-blowing. You will love it.
Okay, Midnight Gospel, available on Netflix. Okay, so we're going to go and watch that. Did you know that gospel actually is an old English word that means good news? From two words that were put together, God or good, and spell, which means news or testimony.
That is an interesting point to point out when it comes to it, because the main character, what he does is, like, the storyline is he goes to different worlds and he interviews people so that he can send out the news, like, to the rest of space. So I don't know if it's like, an underlying prospect of that, but I suggest that if you guys are looking for something that is just like so completely far away from anything that you would be consuming in terms of content out there right now, please do check it out. I promise you, you will either tune out after 10 minutes and be like, Aaron is completely out of his mind on forcing, making me watch this, or you'll finish all 8 episodes in one go.
Okay, good. It's polarizing. That's the kind
Yes,
of content
very.
that we like. Thank you for the suggestion parts. We've got movie suggestions, series suggestions, and other shows that we suggest for you to watch already in the other episodes of Shot of Sanity. So
Hmm.
hopefully you guys like them. Also, thank you to the people who have joined our Facebook group, and we've had
Yes.
great conversations in Facebook. And if you have suggestions for movies or shows that you'd like for us to watch as well, you can post it there. But today we have two questions, parts
Very
that
good
we're
question.
gonna be very good questions that we'll be doing here on the podcast, and both from ladies talking about relationships this time around.
So let's check out our first question.
Hi, Joyce and Aaron. This is me, Crystal, and I'm from Leyte. Here's my question for you. How important is mental and spiritual connection in the getting to know each other phase? I met this guy through a common friend, and then we've been communicating for the past 3 weeks, I think, during the ECQ lockdown. And I find him interesting. May kilig naman ng konti, but I don't feel any mental and spiritual connection at all. Or is it just me? I hope you can air this question of mine and maybe get some points and enlighten me. Thank you so much. More power to your show. I've been listening for this for the past few weeks na, and it's really helpful. Um, Keep safe and healthy. Paalam.
That is very interesting. Thank you for sending that in, and thank you for listening for however long we've been doing SOS. It means the world to us. But the main topic of that conversation is how important really is spiritual and emotional connection. And I guess we can use that as a comparison to physical attraction. Because
Yeah.
I think that it's a very, very big part of it. Joyce, what are your thoughts when it comes to maybe not being on the same page as the person that you are physically attracted to?
That's hard. Thank you, Christelle, for that very difficult question.
Yes.
And I think it's a very important question right now because when you're in ECQ and you're trying to build relationships, right? Whether that's friendships or romantic relationships, I think the only thing that you're really left with is common ground with regards to character, spiritual beliefs, and mental stimulation. And my for me personally, my number one priority always, whenever I go into a relationship, what when I used to always I'm
Yeah,
married
there you
now.
go. Yes, yes, yes.
Whenever I used to, start dating someone before I got married, it was always one, mental stimulation. Like this person has to be able to keep up with my humor, and we have to have the same wavelength. And two, that I need to also be able to relate to them spiritually. That kind of came in maybe at the latter part of my life. But what I realized is those two are the most important things that you need to look for when you're in a relationship, because everything else, whether that's your career or physical attraction, everything else eventually changes and fades away.
Yes.
And I've realized also that okay, I have to come clean. I used to date people who weren't exactly my physical type, but because they were so funny or so smart or so I'm so emotionally and spiritually connected to them, I just ended up really liking them. And Aaron Atida knows this. He's smirking on the other side of the camera because he's met some of these people and he's just like, what are your children gonna look like?
They'll be smart. They'll be really smart and have
And talented.
very great personalities. But
We're
yeah.
not sure about the physical part. It's a good thing that my husband just happens to be good looking
Yeah,
too.
he's
But yeah,
incredibly good looking. Like, my God.
right? And it's nice because I arrived with someone who actually ticks all the boxes, but sometimes you have to pick, right?
Yeah.
Okay, but I think Crystal's question is, what is she gonna do now? She feels like she's connected to this person, she's getting kilig and things like that, but
Nang
she
slight
doesn't
daw. May
nang
kilig naman ng
slight
slight.
now.
Oo.
On kahit papano.
Mm.
But it's not connecting on an emotional, I guess, or on a deeper level, is what she's saying.
Uh-huh.
Do you think, parts, that it's possible to actually connect with someone on a deeper level, even considering the setup that we have now?
I think,
Baka kasi yun yung problema eh, di ba?
yeah, you know what? Honestly, there are two ways to look at this. One way is, and as somebody that knows exactly what she is talking about, like I know exactly what that is, where you are physically attracted to the person, and you're like, oh my god, like I could just look at you forever. Like this is amazing. And then you realize, oh my god, I'm probably gonna have to just look at you forever. Like, that is really it. Oh my god.
That's horrible.
But what I'm saying is, I'm not saying that the person is stupid or the person doesn't have personality.
Okay.
That is why there is the whole wavelength argument that is such a huge thing, and that's what I think that is being talked about here. Now, it's very different when it comes to ECQ, and trust me, I know what it's like to try so hard to get on that same wavelength as someone, but it's very difficult as well to do it in this certain predicament in the world that we're in right now. I see you smiling because you're like
I know what you're talking about.
I know, and it's very difficult, and I don't want, and that's why I think that there's two ways to look at it. One is that we might be putting a little bit too much pressure on being able to have that emotional and spiritual and mental connection, because there is no physical connection that we can really take a look at right now and really cherish at the moment, because you're relying everything on it being a mental and spiritual connection. Now the other side of that is you might just be in it to be able to have some sort of communication, like to be able to have some sort of interaction, and that is the other side of it. You have to be able to balance both extremities of what's happening right now.
Yeah. I like what Aaron said. The first one, I think, Christelle, that you have to remember is that we are in a whole different situation right now worldwide. And so you have to consider the fact that some people are afraid to be vulnerable at the moment, because being vulnerable opens them up to a lot of difficulties, right? When you're vulnerable, you are more prone to being anxious. And so maybe that's why he can't be vulnerable with you at the moment, because if he goes into that headspace, then he will also allow himself to be more anxious and to ask himself the difficult question that he's trying to avoid, right? Like, what's happening to the world? Is there anything that's going to happen in this relationship that we're having through text or through technology in the future, right? Maybe that's one way to look at it. Another would be, it might be too early. Some people take a while to open up. I know I take a while to open up, but the moment I open up, I completely let
There
go.
is no shutting
Oh
it.
my God.
It's that.
Yes.
That is it.
No shutting. But it takes a while, like maybe a couple of months, a year for me before I really open up to someone. Even with friends, right? Some people have a difficulty with opening up. So maybe you need to give time to that person. Or one of the things that I know really works, and I'm not making you manipulate this person, but what I'm trying to say is give them a comfortable space for them to really express themselves. And one thing that you can do is to actually share things that are personal to you, that are deep, right? Like when you start talking about things that are personal to you, like your dreams, your aspirations, or the things that give you anxiety, or the things that you're worrying about, that gives the person the chance to also share their own personal experiences and struggles. Maybe the reason why this person is not yet opening up to you is because they feel like you're not comfortable in doing that. Diba minsan kasi may ganun parts, right?
Yes, and that's why I always believe that dating, especially in the world that we're living in right now, where we all need to try and be as strong and as defined and willed as possible, we have even more walls up. And when it comes to dating someone, I always felt in my personal experiences is that I have always been, my attraction builds and it expands and grows even more when I feel that someone is showing their vulnerability towards me.
Right.
Because when somebody shows vulnerability towards me, I show more vulnerability from my end, and that is how emotional, mental, and spiritual connections happen. Now, if it's just both of you guys waiting and you don't have body language anymore to know, like, hey, can I show a little bit more vulnerability this way? No, you don't have that. There are no punctuation marks on a text to be able to portray this. So we're going to have to try and find new ways. So maybe if he is not showing you any bit of vulnerability, maybe show him a little bit of vulnerability and see how he reacts to that. Now, I'm not saying be completely vulnerable, like, oh my God, these are my biggest anxieties in the world. And yada, yada. I mean, again, we've said try to keep it light, but maybe show a little bit of vulnerability if you know that you guys are having a chance. May kilig naman eh. So show that and see how he responds.
Yeah, and give it time. Honestly, I feel like it's different now. Maybe the dating phase that you used to have or the pace that you used to have wherein after 3 weeks, pinag-uusapan nyo na yung dream wedding mo. Di ba? Kung ganun yung pace dati, ngayon it's different because you don't get to see each other. You don't get to really express yourself, and that other person doesn't really see how your chemistry is in person. So maybe that's why it takes longer.
Yeah.
Now,
to further your point, before I let you go on, I have a friend who is single, and at the start of this, he was saying, like, yeah, dude, I'm on Bumble, I'm talking to people, I wanted to be able to have conversations, and now he said he's completely stopped. Because he said, I don't know what it's going to lead to. Like, what is going to change? If it's just going to be a conversation, am I okay with that? And he wasn't, so he kind of shut it off and said, you know what, we'll see how this goes. And you're the guy that you're talking to might be in that same area as well. So as you were saying, Joyce.
Yeah, and I was going through like the second part, I guess, like the sub question of Crystal's question, wherein is it okay to keep dating someone if you don't feel like there's an emotional or mental connection? Personally, as we mentioned, take some time. Make that person feel comfortable, try and really go to a deeper level of connection, because maybe it's just the setup that's kind of difficult right now. But I certainly believe that you shouldn't be in a relationship where you don't feel an emotional or mental or spiritual connection, because at the end of the day, that's really all that will matter. If your values match, if you guys agree on, you have to agree on the non-negotiables. You have to know yourself enough to know your non-negotiables, and you have to be honest with the person that you're dating or you're getting to know enough to tell them that these are my non-negotiables, like spiritual connectedness or being able to connect on the same wavelength. But those are some things that I don't think you should ever look over. Those are the things that are very important in a relationship. Everything else fades away. Everything else kind of you can adjust. Kung hindi kayo same ng preference, like hindi ka sporty pero siya sporty, those are the kind of things that you can learn, right? Pero yung character and spiritual values, if you guys don't agree on the same thing, it's not impossible. I've seen some people do it, but it's a lot of hard work, and relationships are hard work enough. So for me, gusto kong bawasan yung hard work ko. So I tend to be attracted to people who kind of share the same values with me.
Okay, so this was something that I've been kind of thinking about for quite a while now, and it seems like a pretty good opportunity with this topic to go. Do you think that there is a deadline on dating based on the kind of attraction that is being tested?
I don't know. Depende kung gaano ka stubborn at martir, I guess.
No, exactly. So,
right?
But despite how stubborn and martir you are, you still ended up with somebody that was perfect for you. Somebody that came along, despite all of the guys that came before this, that we've had many conversations where like, Parts, are you sure? Like, really? That guy? Are you serious? I'm just saying, they all had a detonation point. So, what is the attraction that you think has the longest fuse, if not an eternal fuse, that will not explode. Because I think that the physical attraction fuse is the first one that could easily pop. Whether you're not attracted or you're not, boom. Physical attraction will forever be one of the biggest things that will gauge whether you will continue a relationship or not. And then there is the geographical, which is huge. Geographical attraction is a huge thing. Now, hear me out. A lot of people don't know that this is a real thing, but geographical attraction is a huge thing. I used to literally make sure that I could drive without toll to be able to date a girl. It was a big thing. I didn't have any money to pay for toll. So I had to make sure, like, oh, pwede naman pala i-service road eh. Like, that was it. So that was...
Las Piñas to Fairview, ganon.
Ooh, that's a
Long
problem.
distance na yun.
Yeah, but then there comes the emotional, the spiritual. Financial attraction is something, because that is, being safe. Do you think that there is, like, a timeline? Like, if you're not mentally or emotionally or spiritually attracted to this person by this time, it needs to be talked about or ended.
Okay, hear me out. I feel like this has a lot to do with the other person. Kasi if the other person doesn't advance in their feelings, okay lang eh. You can take as much time as you want, right? You could think about the relationship, feel it out as much as you want if the other person doesn't have a time limit. But if the other person starts telling you that they really like you or they love you and they develop feelings that you don't reciprocate, I think that's when you stop. Because at the end of the day, you have to meet eye to eye. And if you're in this relationship, you're trying to develop a friendship or relationship, kung hindi naman nag-a-advance yung other person and they're just chill also, then take as much time as you want, right? But if the person starts telling you that they like you, that they love you, that they're falling in love with you, and you don't feel the same way, then maybe that's the time for you to really make the decision, okay, do I see myself advancing to the same level that this person is at, or am I not seeing it? Because if you're not seeing it, then that's your time to start leaving.
That is a very, very good point.
Right?
Because a lot of people might be looking at it as very personal. Like, no, I don't connect with that person this way. So I think that we might need to end this at this point. But it's not a solo race. A relationship and courtship and, dating and trying to understand where that person comes from, it is not a solo race. Both of you guys are running at the same time. Tandem kayo. If you guys are not going at the same pace, then that's the problem. Now, if you guys are starting to get to know each other and you feel like that emotional, mental, spiritual connection isn't there yet, that person might not be thinking too far ahead either. So try and get on the same page. And that's where the root of everything when it comes to relationships, communication will forever be the key to your success.
That's true. Can I just make kwento also?
Go ahead.
I used to date this guy and I thought we were doing so well, but I was taking too long. So he was in this, I'm in love with you, I really like you, we should take it to the next level, we should be official type of thing. And I wanted to be there also, right? I wanted to also be in love with him and eventually date him and things like that. But he couldn't keep up. He couldn't wait for me anymore. So parang masyadong mabagal yung pacing ko in the relationship. So he ended up ending it. Gets? Because he could see me. Like, he was like, you don't look like you're in love with me. You don't look like you want to take things seriously anytime now. And I kept telling him that, like, I'm not in the headspace yet to get into a relationship, so I really need time. And so it was flipped, right? The question of Crystal, she was this guy who knew what she wanted, who knew what he wanted, but was not getting it from me. And so he ended it because he felt like it wasn't going there. So more than anything, you have to consider, yes, you have to consider your feelings, but you also have to consider the pace of the person that you're in this relationship with. if they're not there yet, but you're willing to wait, you're willing to kind of explore the timeline with this person, and you're not in a rush to really get them to talk about the deep things like your emotional or your spiritual connection, then go ahead and wait, like chill it out, right? Pero pag dumating ka na dun sa point na, okay, I need emotional connection, I need spiritual connection, and I'm not getting it from this person, then maybe you should start asking yourself, am I gonna stick around or should I move on to the next one?
So you're saying if the kilig is enough,
Yes,
tsaka
that's
lang.
what I'm saying. Oh, kung chill lang naman kayo parehas, di ba? Study
Ah,
lang kayo.
yeah.
Getting to know each other, having a company while you're in ECQ. You're not having intense emotions for this person. Neither is he. You're both kilig. You're kind of like feeling it out. Then go ahead, right? Like, get to know each other. Grow with that person. Get to know each other. But then, you have to be honest with yourself and with that person as well. Kung nag-advance ka na ng emotions mo at ng desires mo for the relationship and that person isn't there yet, then ask yourself, do you want to have that discussion, or is it bye-bye time na, okay, I don't think this is going anywhere, but we're great friends, so why don't we just stay that way? Diba?
Yes.
Honesty. Apart from what Aaron Astaida says, which is communication is the number one thing that will make or break your relationship, I feel like honesty to yourself and to that person will also be the determining factor for any relationship.
But okay, see, just to kind of play devil's advocate here, because I need the same advice for my own personal gain as well. What if? Okay, so I was dating a girl, and she was in a long term relationship. When they broke up, it was not very good, and when we started dating, everything was going really really well, but I think she kind of got spooked by the fact that it was going really really well. So if you were somebody that knew you were not ready, would you want the guy that is the closest to you becoming ready to stay there, or would you want him to go away?
I think it depends on the kind of arrangement that you guys agree on,
Okay.
which goes back to honesty. I feel like if you're in that situation where you just got out of a relationship and there's this great guy that you're getting close with, but you don't want to take things too fast because you're scared, I think the responsibility of the other person is to really tell the person that you're dating, like, hey, I really like you, but I feel like we're going too fast. Is it okay if we kind of just slow down?
Oh God,
You
I
know,
had that conversation.
right? Which is great.
It's
Which is
great.
like
It's great.
letting the other person know that I like you, yes, and I really like what's happening here, but it's kind of freaking me out. So why don't we slow things down? Now, that kind of conversation has to have boundaries. Like, when you say slowing things down, that doesn't mean disappearing on the person. It just means,
Ah.
right? It just means
Ah.
that you'll still talk, you'll still catch up with each other, you'll still have conversations, but you're not gonna put pressure on the
Of
relationship,
course.
right? And I feel like if the girl tells you that, dapat she will also be the one to have the responsibility to tell you that, okay, I'm okay to kind of go back to where we were before this conversation started, right?
I hope. I see. I hope people would do that. See, that's the thing. We have.
And this is why I'm married, because
Yes!
I talk about these things.
Yes.
No, but it's true. Everything is communication. Like what you said, it's communicating what you're comfortable with, what you're not comfortable with, and being able to tell the other person, okay, I'm done with the discomfort. Okay na ako. Pwede na tayo ulit mag-advance to the next step. I think it's just that. Or for example, ikaw naman, on the other end, you're Aaron, right? And you're the one who's waiting on this girl to actually be comfortable in the relationship. You have to be honest with yourself and tell yourself, like, okay, I'm okay just kind of being in this space right now where we're not advancing into a relationship. But if, for example, one day you wake up and you realize now, you know what? This sucks. I don't want to be in this space anymore. I really want to get deeper into the relationship. You have to be the one to tell her that I know it's uncomfortable for you, that we're going too fast, but I have to be honest with you. My feelings are advancing, and I'm really kind of, it's kind of hurting me that you're not in that space
Does
also.
that not scare some people though? Because like,
It shouldn't.
I thought of doing that before. I thought of maybe like, you know what? Okay,
I don't think it should. Why would it scare other people? Tell me parts.
because okay, is it scarier that it comes from a guy? Because there are gender, stereotypes that, guys are supposed to be a little bit like not as emotional, but if a guy comes into it and says, "Hey, you know what? I really enjoyed the way that we, used to talk, and I know you were kind of freaked out a little bit, but I just wish that we could, have more conversations like we used to." Doesn't that freak out? Doesn't that like make the girl think, "Oh my God, this guy was really assuming," and stuff like that?
If that girl that you're dating ends up judging you right away.
This is long ago. This was like high school.
Yes, yeah. But if this girl, for example, sabihin na natin recent siya or something, not saying that it was, sabihin na natin na she judges you right away and that's you like, oh, feeling ka naman. Do you want to really be in a relationship with that kind of person?
You know me.
Yes, you do. But what I'm saying is, all the difficult conversations are litmus tests for any good relationships.
I love
That's
that.
what you have to remember. It's better to have difficult conversations in the beginning of the relationship to clear the air out than to keep on going, avoiding confrontation, avoiding difficult conversations, and then finding yourself in the middle of it all to only meet someone who goes like, I don't think you're worth it. Right? So have that person tell you you're not worth it in the beginning of the relationship and save yourself the heartache. If that person values you enough, they are willing to sit down with you and tell you to your face like, hey, I really like you, but I still need more time. Can you give me 2 more weeks and then let's talk again? If after 2 more weeks, I'm still not ready to go deeper into the relationship or go back to where we were before we took this sort of break, then okay, we can just be friends. But if I'm ready within 2 weeks, then let's go and get it. That's all there is to it. And, you might lose some people along the way, but I tell you, you will retain the people that you need to. And that's the most important thing.
And that is why it goes back to the question a while ago. As long as the kilig is still enough for you, enjoy it.
Yes.
Enjoy it. Now, if it doesn't, that is where this entire conversation that we just had goes into. So hopefully we were able to help you out. We were supposed to get to 2 questions today, but that did not happen.
Ano na yun? 32 minutes.
Paano yun?
Okay. O, sige, parts. Ito na lang.
Okay.
Since we're done with Crystal's question, thank you, Crystal, for that question.
Thank you, Crystal. That was a great question.
Great question, great conversation starter. For you personally, what are the things that you think people should always watch out for and should always take into account before they go into a relationship? I've had a plethora of advices from other people. Some people say that kailangan kasundo mo yung family kasi mahirap pag di mo kasundo yung family, or kailangan financially stable din siya kasi ma-intimidate siya pag hindi siya financially stable. What are those standards for you? For you personally, ano yung mga ma-advise mo sa mga tao who are listening right now? Like, these are the things that you should really watch out for now that we're in ACQ and trying to start relationships.
You know me. I'm not gonna lie. My first attraction will always be physical attraction. That is the way.
Hoy, that's normal. We just have to say that's normal. That's always the first thing.
That's always the first attraction. But I think that for a connection to go, I always believed that there are 3 things that you need to feel the same at all times when you're in the relationship. Okay. 1 is that person needs to be able to make you laugh no matter what. Because I believe that humor and laughing is the greatest way of binding characters together. Whether they are friends or whatever. Or more than that. Laughing will always be that. And the person needs to be able to make you feel as safe as much as that person can make you feel laughing. So you need to feel safe as much as you feel happy. And above all, you need to feel loved as much as both of them combined. And if you have that, and you have, more, that is more than a lot of people can ask for in their relationships. That they're with someone that makes them feel safe, especially in the times right now. You're with somebody that can make you laugh and really have your stomach aching with just so much laughter, and at the end of it all, feel love with no words being said, no actions being done, but with just them being the person that they are. You feel the love that they have. If you have all three of those, any other flags that come across your way, they can all be weathered along the way.
Good advice, Parts.
What
Good
about
advice.
you?
Yeah.
I mean, what was it that for you that despite all of the other guys that came across that I both approved and disapproved of, what was it that with Juancho that you sat down and you said, you know what, there is no such thing as too fast. There is no such thing as too slow. We
Yeah.
are going at our pace. What
Yeah.
was it?
I think everything that you said, he made me laugh, he made me feel safe, and he made me feel loved. Laughing was so important. Like, I've never met anyone who laughed so much at my jokes or who really enjoyed my company as much as Wanchu did. He made me feel safe, as if he would take a bullet for me, and he would tell that to me in the very beginning of our relationship. Like, I'd take a bullet for you. That's how much I love you. And the third one, which is he loved me. He saw the flaws in my personality. He saw my family problems. He saw all the bad things that I'd done before and all the good things that I'm trying to become. And he still loved me for it. And those three things, I checked the box and I was like, okay, then this is someone that I could really get with. And the number one thing, obviously, is my spirituality. We had the same beliefs. We had the same values. And I feel like when you're considering someone to be your partner for the rest of your life, that's what you want, because you're gonna have to look at it from a future perspective. Can you raise a family with this person? Will you have a lot of problems or disagreements? Because if you're gonna have disagreements with the way that you're gonna raise your kids, the way that you're gonna be parents, the way that you're gonna be husband and wife, it's gonna be complicating the relationship, right? So that spirituality, that belief, that area should also be something that you should really think about. And also character wise, like, the one thing that I really had to look at Juancho for is, how is his character? Like, ano yung ugali niya pag walang nakatingin? Anong ugali niya pag he's talking to a security guard or a garbage collector, and also to a CEO? Is it the same kind of character? Is he respectful to all sorts of people? Like, those are the kinds of things that I had to look at. And I feel like, for Christelle and for anybody out there who's listening, when you're trying to set a connection with someone, when you're done with the kilig stage and with the getting to know stage, what you have to look at is really their character. How do they treat people who they have the power over? How are they treating people who have no chances to reciprocate their kindness or their generosity? You have to look at these important things, because at the end of the day, when the kilig and the attraction ends, which it will end,
It will.
we have to acknowledge that butterfly in your stomach will be gone after you live with the person for 2 months. Trust me, I know. Or when you have your first fight, like, yun yung sobrang, I think that's one of the most important instances in a relationship. The first disagreement and the first argument, the first fight. How is that person treating you when you don't agree with them? And if that person treats you with kindness and respect, and if that person can really accept you for everything that you are and everything that you want to become, then that's what you're going for. I think that's a good litmus test for it. The kilig and the attraction will eventually fade away. But if you find someone whose character, whose heart, whose spiritual beliefs you agree with and you love, then you have something good going for you. So.
There was a line that I saw one time where it was like, anyone can give you butterflies in the stomach, but not everyone will understand your heart. So that is really what it's about.
Yes, that's true. That's true. And we're complex beings. We'll always be attracted to people. Like,
you'll always find a new crush. You'll always find yourself like, oh my gosh, I'm married already. Why am I crushing on Tom Hiddleston again? Speaking for a friend. Pero
Yeah.
diba, totoo, you'll always be attracted to new people. There will always be, okay, this is what people don't really talk about, but it happens all the time. You will meet people in the future who will be far better than your partner. That's just how life works. You will probably have friends who you enjoy more spending more time with, or who fascinates you more than your partner. But if that person doesn't give you the same level of love, character, or heart than your partner, what's the point?
What's the
diba?
point? Yeah.
And it's also like, it's always choosing the person that you're with. That's it. It's love is a verb. It's not a feeling.
Love that. Man, well, see, 42 minutes. What? We have one question.
We're sorry. But to be fair naman, parts, medyo nag-expand naman kasi yung question ni Kristen.
And I think that there is a lot of conversation still to be had, to dive deeper into the different aspects of love and attraction that we have been talking about so far. And we will get to them. Now, if you have any questions that are a little bit more in line with it, like that you might want to dive deeper into the conversation that we had here, either head on over to our Facebook group, A Shot of Sanity SOS podcast. It is a private group, so you have to just ask if you could come in. We will let you guys in, but we just want to make sure that it has a nice community feel. Ask your questions there, or ask it on joyspring.com in a voice note, and we'll play it here on the show.
That's right. Thank you again for sending in your question. Thank you to Christelle and to everybody else who's been sending in their voice messages. Again, we'd love to hear from you, so please don't forget to use the hashtag Adulting with Joyce Spring, and hashtag Shot of Sanity. Tag me and Aaron Ataria at Aaron Ataria and at Joyce Spring.
Until next time, episode number, I don't know. That wraps up this one. We out here. Bye, everybody. Peace.
Paalam!
And that's it for this episode. If you'd like to continue the conversation, go to www.joyspring.com. And if you want to support the podcast, go to patreon.com/adultingwithjoyspring. I'll talk to you guys soon. Paalam!